Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, a terrible title for a movie, although one that definitely tells you what you're going to get. Now, I was considering doing a spoiler-free section of this video, but then I thought if you want to watch something which doesn't tell you anything about the plot at all, just watch the first hour of this movie where nothing happens. Yes, pacing issues of this movie are definitely a problem, but far from one of the most significant ones. Now, if you've seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness or Thor: Love and Thunder, you probably already know the problems with this movie, because they're all just repeated here again. In fact, they feel very similar. These are conveyor belt movies made to a blueprint, and it shows, because they all fail in the same ways. The most surprising thing about them is how they can fail in the same ways while costing so much money. Remember when the volume was supposed to make things cheaper, and instead it just made everything look like ass? It was Thor: Love and Thunder that made me decide it, but this just confirms it. I despise the volume, I despise everything about it, and I'm not somebody that cares about CGI. Not that you can see the CGI in this movie, because it's pitch black for most of it. In fact, you'll find yourself sitting in the audience just wishing you had night vision goggles, so you might actually be able to see something happen on screen for once. And I'm not much of a cinema person, too British. Going out there, sitting next to other people, not my idea of fun. I'd rather sit and watch it in the comfort of my own home. Which also has the advantage of I would be able to adjust the brightness of my monitor so I could watch my movie. But when you can see it, what you will see is waves of people moving into waves of other people, and it's all CGI in a background that looks like a wall. Because that's what the volume is. There is literally a shot in this movie where they're walking along, and it's supposed to go back and look like this big, wide, open scene, but you can tell it's just a wall. It doesn't even look like it's got any depth. It's obviously just a wall they're walking next to. But I'll come back to the volume because I have so many complaints about the volume, it's untrue. Should we handle the story? That should be a short one because there's not much of it. We start getting Ant-Man's entire family involved. These are people that I don't care about. What I do know is there's far too many of them. Okay, I'll give you Ant-Man and the Wasp. But we have to introduce his daughter, who's now got a suit all of her own, so that she can get involved, so we can hit that 2-to-1 ratio of the males to females in those superhero posters. Because that's largely seems to be why we're here, especially in all the heroic shots. He's in the center with them on either side of him. But we start at their house. His daughter is a tech wizard. She's invented like some kind of submarine satellite spy network thing that they're going to send into the quantum realm. But it sends a signal down, and that's tracked back up to them, and they use that to suck the family into the quantum realm because they have something that Kang needs to escape. On the way down, all the ants get sucked in, and all of the ants, coincidentally, get sucked through a time portal. Even though we're falling down the same hole, the ants get sucked away, live for thousands of years, and evolve into super mutants, who then come back later on to help fight people. And there's a line for that, but I'm not going to touch it yet because, quite frankly, I'm not prepared. What follows this is an incredible amount of absolutely boring nothing happening, but it is especially funny when Ant-Man and his daughter get captured and kidnapped by a tribe and taken to their tribe home, and then Kang's minions come looking for them, and they have the gall to say to Ant-Man, "You led them right to us!" "No, I didn't. You kidnapped us. You led them right to you because you led me to you." If I'm walking along the street and someone kidnaps me and then the police track me down, you can't go, "I can't believe you led the police straight to me." No, you did that.
The Mad Goose Wizard.
When you kidnapped me in the first place. But logic doesn't really matter in any of this. Cut to the end because, quite frankly, you'll want to. And everyone's leading a revolution against Kang. Just before this, there's been a load of son and daughter fights, and the daughter's been absolutely destroying people because she's just so amazing. Empowerment! But Kang decides, I'm going to go down as a one-man army and crush all of this myself. That is until the ants turn up, because the father's led them there. Who dares utter the line, "You know, socialism's a loaded word, but don't you know, there's a lot we can learn from those ants." And that's just before the ants come in their massive swarm and sweep through the world, clearing out all of the evil and destroying Kang. At least you're supposed to think so. The ants led a socialist revolution against the villain, and they've got the characters praising them for it. Please, Hollywood, can you tone down the messaging a bit? Or do you just want to sledgehammer me in the face with it time and time again? If you're gonna do that, you at least make a quality movie while we're there so we can get something out of it for all of us. Because at this point, it feels like I've paid to have trash dumped over my face while someone repeatedly punches me in it. And then we get to the final battle, which has Ant-Man in it. So, you know, that's nice for once. Of course, he doesn't actually get to defeat Kang. No, instead Ant-Man seems to take the Homer Simpson approach of just hoping that if he lets Kang punch him in the face long enough, Kang will get exhausted and defeat himself. Ant-Man is absolutely useless in that fight, and Kang is winding him up no end, telling him all the stuff he's going to do, how you're not going to get back to your daughter, you're not going to get back to your family, and like, okay, this will be the time where he actually powers up because he's now been pissed off enough. No, please sir, could you just want to punch me in the face some more? Hopefully you'll get tired eventually. That is until, of course, the Wasp turns up, who then just proceeds to immediately defeat Kang with absolutely no problem whatsoever and save the day. Of course, now they're stranded in the quantum realm and can't get back. Oh, no, sorry, we forgot about that one, didn't we? Yes, you see the daughter's on the other side, she's escaped, and she's just so clever that she opens the portal for them and saves them on her end. Oh, isn't Ant-Man just so lucky to be surrounded by women in STEM? And now there is a second villain in this, Mordock, who I don't want to talk about at all because he's just that horrible. He is just a massive head with tiny legs coming out, and I don't care whether it's from the comic or not. This is live action, and what we have in front of us doesn't work. But he flies around, and I think he's supposed to be dangerous, and I think it's supposed to be tense, and it isn't, because he looks so stupid. I can't take it seriously. And the way it's acted, it can't be taken seriously. And there's so many attempts at jokes in this, which aren't funny. And in fact, the only reason I even know they're meant to be jokes is because I can recognize the Marvel humor, which has never been funny. I wouldn't define these as jokes. I wouldn't define this as comedy. I just know they're attempting to be funny, and so use that terminology for it. In the scene I've mentioned before, where they get kidnapped by the tribe and then blamed for, you've led them straight to us. No, that's not how that worked. They start talking about Ant-Man and describing how many holes he's got. He's like 7, and then there's a long wait. He's like, yeah, I do. But there's at least a 5 to 10 second pause where he's counting. That's not a script. There's actually a rule of 3 in comedy. You can say the same thing 3 times before it's not funny anymore. And if you want comedic timing, it's 3 seconds. That pause went on far longer than 3 seconds. But I'd already heard about that scene. I was immunized to that joke. I was expecting it. But I'd also heard it was far worse. So when he goes, oh yeah, there's 7. Yeah, that's correct. I thought that was it. No, this scene goes on forever. They keep repeating it time and time again, like it's the height of comedy. Whoever wrote that scene is so proud that they managed to count up orifices. And I mean, hey, it wasn't funny the first time, but if we keep beating the horse into the ground, maybe it'll be funny eventually. That's the kind of tactic I use in my reviews. You're not supposed to use it in a Marvel movie where you spend hundreds of millions of pounds on this thing. If you want to put comedy in movies, you're gonna have to hire comedians, you really are. And so, to my pet peeve, the volume. Something which I absolutely despise with a passion. This is something I realized in Thor: Love and Thunder, and yeah, it's only got worse. I don't care about CGI. You can give me bad graphics. I'm not going to complain. Give me bad animations in a game. I don't care. But there's something special, a certain place reserved in hell for the volume. It's probably the worst technology that's ever come to movies, because it looks awful, but for some reason, the people behind the scenes can't tell that. I don't care about bad graphics, but the volume does something to my brain where it is screaming at me that there is something wrong. It's that same kind of effect as when your brain thinks you've been poisoned, because what you're seeing doesn't match up to what it expects as actual reality. And so I am constantly being dragged out of the movie because I'm noticing everything. Everyone's popping off. The background is just constantly a blurry mess, and it doesn't match the actual people on the screen because they're in focus, but the background isn't. And I don't know the technical details enough to describe the exact problem with it. Whether it's the fact that the bokeh effect is supposed to be more pronounced as you go further into the image, whereas this is sudden because you've got reality suddenly mixed with blurriness. But whatever it is, my brain hates it, and I just can't get immersed in the movie. I actually think if this was used on a good movie, I think it would still be a major deal breaker for me, and I think it would drastically harm the way I thought of that movie, specifically for this alone. That's about all the other negatives of the volume, namely, it's pretty small. And so there's lots of shots of people running one way, and then we'll flip round and just run the other way, or we'll move over here, and oh yeah, there's the character we need to see next. It's just right next to us because we've only got the volume to work in. And that's without all of this being pointless, because this is a multiverse, so yeah, you defeat one Kang, but there's an infinite amount of him out there, and they're all coming now. The after credit scene told us that the Kangs are coming to defeat the universe, which makes this movie literally pointless because you just defeated one and now you've got so many more to fight. Won't that be fun? And I mean, Dangly Bits couldn't defeat one of them, so you are going to need a hell of a lot of Dangly Bit deficient people to actually defeat the rest of them. The Dangly challenged. Then there's even how Kang looked in this. That annoyed me as well, because not only is this in pitch black, so you can't see people very well, but he had 2 scars running down his face, which in bright light on the posters, maybe that looks fine. I still don't think it does, but you know, whatever. But the issue is, in darkness, it does make him look like he's crying. And I don't know if you've ever watched a movie where it looks like he's crying for most of it, but it's not scary and it doesn't give a lot of tension. It really takes away from any emphasis or impact that a villain is supposed to have in a piece when it looks like he's constantly in tears. Oh, I'm sorry you're so weak and pathetic. What was that? You were threatening me? Sorry, I was just getting a glass to drink your tears. Don't make your villains look as if they're crying. I don't know why this is something that has to be said. Now, this may have seemed like a random unhinged rant, and it largely was, which is about as much effort as this movie deserves. It's got so many problems, exactly the same as the other movies, because they were made on a conveyor belt to a blueprint, and the flaws are built into the blueprint itself. This time, just with more added messaging than we had in the others, which was surprising considering how much they had. But I do think it's difficult for me to arrange my thoughts on this matter when it's so hard for me to remember what happened in the movie in the first place, and I've only just seen it. Seriously, I either have amnesia, fell asleep in it, or the movie hit my eyes, went through into short-term memory, and yeeted out of my brain before it went any further. Which isn't surprising, because there is nothing in this movie for your brain to actually catch on to. It's not deep, it's not complicated, and there really isn't a plot. But what you do have is the lingering question of why does this movie even exist? It seems like it's just there to introduce Kang to people, because lots of them aren't going to have seen Loki, and so don't know who he is. Apart from that, there isn't really a reason for this thing to even exist, and I hate this whole idea that the after-credit scenes are amazing. I don't even want after-credit scenes. I don't want to have to sit and watch your name scroll past when I don't care about your name. But that's something that you made out of your ego because you want everyone else to sit there and stare at your name go by because you think it's important, when you know nobody else cares out there, and they wouldn't do it unless there was actually something for them to watch at the other end. The credits are simply supposed to be there so that the people on Hollywood can go, oh look, there's me, I got my recognition. You're not supposed to make your audience sit there and waste their life waiting for it to go by. But that's Hollywood. Ego without any talent to actually back it up. Ego without any creativity involved. Ego despite only having a failed list of absolutely trash entertainment to your name, but don't worry, I'm probably going to get promoted anyway. And hey, I'm not going to be paying attention to this movie afterwards. I don't know whether it's made money or not. Quite frankly, I don't really care. This movie can make all the money it wants. It's not going to change it from being an absolutely disaster of a movie. And at this point, as we enter phase 5, with Disney making the same mistakes movie after movie because they're all made exactly the same way, and so these flaws are built into the design of the movies themselves. When the movies do make money, I have absolutely no idea why. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you in the next one. Picard's up next. I'll see you. Bye-bye.